There are days when no one needs to shout in your face for you to feel hurt. A single sarcastic remark, a cold glance, or a long silence is enough to make your heart race, your blood rise, and your reason vanish. In that moment, you want to react instantly, to prove you are right and they are wrong. But deep down, you know that if you let emotion lead, you have already lost the most precious thing, your peace. Stoic philosophy teaches that true strength is not found in always winning every argument, but in knowing when to be silent, when to let go, and when to stand firm without letting the world drag you down. The greatest power you have is not in changing others, but in mastering your own response. When you realize that peace is not something anyone can hand you, but something you guard for yourself, you will understand. Every challenge, every insult, every injustice is an opportunity to train your character. And this is how you begin. 1. Heal the wounds that make you easily triggered. When someone says or does something that stirs a strong reaction in you, that reaction rarely comes from their action itself. It usually comes from a wound within you. That wound could be an old memory, a criticism from the past, or a long-held sense of not being enough. When these wounds remain unhealed, they become sensitive touch points, and a single word or action that aligns with that fear can ignite an instant emotional surge. This makes it easy for others to control your emotions without you realizing it, because all they have to do is press on the hurt for you to lose your composure. It is crucial to understand that intense emotion does not always equate to truth. Feeling offended does not always mean someone is intentionally trying to belittle you. Sometimes it's simply your mind reacting to an unresolved memory. The more you try to hide or ignore these weak spots, the more power they hold over you. In contrast, when you dare to face them and admit, "I'm sensitive to this for a reason," you begin the real process of healing. Healing here does not mean building a thicker wall so no one can reach you. It means addressing the root so that when others, intentionally or not, touch on it, you no longer feel threatened. This requires self-observation, self-inquiry, and sometimes accepting uncomfortable truths about yourself. You might ask, why does this upset me? What am I afraid others will think of me? Do I actually believe what they're saying? Each answer is a clue leading you closer to the real cause of your reaction. This process demands patience and absolute honesty with yourself. You may discover that part of you is still living to prove your worth to someone, or is still trying to escape an old, negative image placed upon you. Once you understand this, you can start shifting how you see yourself, reducing your dependence on others' approval or judgment. When these touch points are healed, you will find yourself less easily provoked, and even direct attacks will no longer shake you. A strong inner life does not mean you have never been hurt, but that you have taken the time to work through it, turning wounds into self-understanding. When you reach that state, others may say anything, but you will respond from calm rather than fear. And in that moment, you are truly free. 2. Understand that people's words reflect them more than they reflect you. When someone offers criticism, judgment, or insult, most of us instinctively look inward to see what we did wrong. The mind rushes to find proof, to question whether what they said is true, and lets those words seep in and control our emotions. But the truth is, most of what people say is not a mirror of who you are, but a mirror of their own inner world. Every comment, attitude, and reaction they show is shaped by their experiences, fears, beliefs, and biases. Those who are insecure often look for faults in others to feel safer. Those disappointed in themselves tend to put others down to temporarily soothe their inner lack. Those with unhealed wounds unconsciously spill them outward, turning them into criticism or contempt. Understanding this allows you to see that their words often reveal far more about their state of mind than about your true worth. Once you grasp this principle, you won't be so easily drawn into the emotional whirlpools they create, whether intentionally or not. This doesn't mean every opinion is worthless or should be ignored. Instead, learn to listen with clarity. When you receive a comment, separate its content from the speaker's emotion. Ask yourself, is this based on objective truth, or is it simply their reaction to their own world? By observing this way, you'll know what to take in for improvement and what to leave with them. Marcus Aurelius reminded us never to mirror the wrongs of others, for doing so makes us a reflection of what we do not respect. When you understand that negative words often stem from insecurity or pain, it becomes easier to keep emotional distance not with coldness, but with clarity and compassion. You'll no longer feel compelled to react or prove yourself because you understand you are not the center of their judgments. Holding this awareness, you can enter conversations with steadiness, letting neither praise inflate you nor criticism diminish you. You will know that your true value lies not in what others say, but in how you live, the actions you choose, and how you protect your peace. Reaching this state is a major step toward becoming emotionally untouchable. 3. Silence as a powerful answer. Silence is often mistaken for weakness, for having nothing to say, or for lacking the ability to respond. In truth, when chosen consciously, silence is a sign of inner strength, self-control, and mastery of the situation. In staying silent, you are not surrendering, you're refusing to enter a battle with no real value. You save your energy for what is truly worthy, instead of wasting it on provocations or fruitless arguments. Silence also breaks the expectations of those who want you to react. Most attacks or provocations are driven by a desire to provoke an emotional response. When you do not react as they hope, they lose their leverage and realize they cannot control you. In that moment, your silence becomes a mirror reflecting their own behavior back at them, forcing them to face what they've created. This is a quiet form of power, not loud, but able to shift the dynamic entirely. Silence allows you to control both the timing and the manner of your response. It does not always mean you will never reply sometimes. It's the pause you take to think, choose your words, and respond with intention. By not moving to someone else's rhythm, you remain in command. This is especially crucial in tense situations where a rushed response could destroy the chance for a peaceful resolution. The Stoics emphasized that we do not need to explain or defend ourselves against every provocation. Seneca noted that silence learned from life's hardships is a deep form of wisdom. It comes from understanding that not every word deserves an answer, and not every action needs an equal reaction. Silence protects your peace and shows clearly that you will not be dragged into another's chaos. When you train yourself to use silence consciously, you'll find you are less driven by impulsive emotion. You'll see more clearly when to speak and when to let silence speak for you. And when that silence comes from self-control and awareness, it is not an empty gap in the conversation. It is a firm, decisive, and powerful response. This is a subtle, yet highly effective skill for maintaining both your position and your calm in any situation. 4. Stop trying to explain everything. The urge to explain yourself often stems from the desire to be understood and accepted. We believe that if we can make our case clearly and logically enough, others will see our true intent and change their judgment. But the truth is, many have already formed their opinion about you before you speak. They listen not to understand, but to find proof for what they already believe. In such cases, every attempt at explanation only drains your energy without bringing any result. Constantly justifying your choices, actions, or thoughts can lead to dependence on others' agreement. Each time you try to prove yourself right, you unconsciously hand over the power to validate your worth to the listener. If they agree, you feel relieved. If they reject you, you feel threatened. This way of living makes your emotions rise and fall according to others' reactions, weakening your ability to stand firm on your own principles. Stoic philosophy reminds us that truth does not need universal approval to have value. Epictetus advised that if someone speaks ill of you, smile and think they simply do not know your other faults yet. This is not an invitation to sarcasm, but a reminder that you need not justify or defend your image before others. Your true worth lies in your actions and consistency, not in winning an argument. When you stop trying to explain everything, you free yourself from the endless cycle of defense. You begin focusing on living true to your principles rather than wasting time convincing those unwilling to listen. This does not mean refusing dialogue or ignoring constructive feedback. It means knowing the difference between a conversation meant to understand and an argument meant to be won. This habit requires confidence and inner calm. You must accept that there will always be people who misunderstand you, that stories will be told about you that are not true, and that none of it defines you. Once you realize you cannot and need not control others' perceptions, you will feel lighter. Each time you choose silence over explanation, you affirm to yourself that peace matters more than external validation, and that choice is a clear expression of inner strength. 5. Calmness in the face of being misunderstood. Being misunderstood can be deeply unsettling, for it touches the human need to be seen accurately and acknowledged. When someone distorts your intentions or twists your story, the instinct is to rush in and correct them, to restore your image. Yet the truth is, misunderstanding is inevitable, no matter how clearly you speak or how carefully you act. Every person sees the world through their own lens, colored by personal experiences, memories, biases, and emotion. Trying to make everyone see you correctly is an impossible task. You can explain yourself 100 times, but if someone has already chosen to view you through a distorted frame, every word you speak will be bent to fit it. This is why, instead of spending all your energy fighting false perceptions, learning to remain calm when misunderstood becomes a crucial step in protecting your inner peace. Stoic philosophy teaches that what we can control is our own actions and attitude, not how others think of us. Marcus Aurelius wrote that everything we hear is merely opinion, not fact, and everything we see is only perspective, not the whole truth. Once you embrace this, you'll see that misunderstandings reflect the limits of others' perception far more than they reveal your reality. Remaining calm when misunderstood does not mean apathy or ignoring everything. It means discerning which situations are worth clarifying and which can be left alone. It's the ability to distinguish between explaining to build understanding and arguing to win. When you no longer feel compelled to fix every misconception about you, you save time, energy, and focus for what truly matters. This calmness requires strong self-confidence, grounded in the knowledge that your worth is not defined by others' opinions. You know who you are. You know your purpose and principles, and that is enough to stand steady even when misjudged. Each time you accept a misunderstanding without overreacting, you strengthen your self-mastery and expand your emotional safe zone. And when this calmness becomes a habit, being misunderstood stops feeling like a threat and becomes simply another natural part of life you can move through with ease. 6. Letting go of the desire to control others. One of the deepest sources of frustration and exhaustion is our effort to change how others think, feel, or act. We believe that if they behaved as we wished, things would be better and we would feel more secure. But the desire to control others is an illusion, for every individual has their own beliefs, values, and choices beyond our complete influence. The more we try to interfere, the more we are pulled into the cycle of expectation and disappointment. When your peace depends on whether someone else changes, you are handing them the power over your emotions. If they act as you hope, you feel relieved. But the moment they act differently, you lose balance. This is how you unconsciously allow others to dictate your inner state. Such dependence drains your energy and leaves you prone to irritation, tension, and loss of direction. Stoicism emphasizes the clear distinction between what is within our control and what is not. The choices, actions, and thoughts of others are always outside your control, no matter how convincing your reasoning or how persistent your effort. Epictetus said that true freedom comes only when we stop clinging to things that are not ours to command. When you understand this, you begin to shift your focus from changing others to managing your own response. Letting go of the need to control others does not mean indifference or neglect. It means choosing to influence by example through your own actions and attitude, rather than through force or imposition. This preserves mutual respect and prevents relationships from eroding under the pressure to change. At the same time, it safeguards your emotional stability because your mood is no longer tied to things beyond your reach. Once you release the urge to control, you feel lighter. You can embrace differences without feeling threatened, face unwanted behavior without losing composure, and keep clarity even when events defy your expectations. This is not only a skill in dealing with others, it is a form of inner freedom that allows you to live in harmony with people while remaining the master of yourself. And when this becomes your way of living, you'll see clearly that peace never comes from changing others. It comes from changing how you respond to them. 7. You are the one who assigns meaning to everything. Every event, word, or action you experience begins in a neutral state. They are simply sounds, images, or movements in the world. They carry no inherent positive or negative charge and hold no power over your mood. What makes you happy, sad, angry, or disappointed is the meaning you attach to them. This means the power to decide your emotions always lies with you, not with anything outside. When someone says something unpleasant, the words themselves cannot harm you. They only become an emotional wound if you accept them as truth or attach a negative meaning to them. Conversely, if you see them as nothing more than a string of sounds unworthy of attention, their impact dissolves instantly. The difference does not come from the world changing, it comes from how you choose to interpret it. Stoicism teaches that our emotions arise from our perceptions, not from events themselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote that if you are troubled by something outside yourself, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your judgment of it, and you always have the power to change that judgment. This is not merely a reminder, but an empowerment, affirming that you are never forced to live as a hostage to circumstances. Realizing that you assign meaning to everything also opens the door to reframing experiences. Instead of reacting negatively out of habit, you can choose a new perspective that turns a discomfort into a learning opportunity. Instead of letting criticism pull you down, you can take it as a cue to improve or as proof of another's limited view. By consciously choosing your perspective, you protect yourself from needless emotional turmoil. This practice requires mindfulness and consistent training. Whenever emotions surge, pause and ask yourself, what meaning have I just given this? Is it truly accurate or just my habitual reaction? In creating that moment of self-inquiry, You make space to reinterpret and thus change the feeling. When you live with the awareness that you decide the meaning of every event, you become less shaken by external shifts. You understand that peace doesn't come from a world that always cooperates. It comes from always having the choice of perspective. Mastering this choice is a major step toward becoming steady, free, and unshakable in any circumstance. 8. Detaching emotionally to love and live without dependency. Emotional detachment does not mean closing your heart or living coldly and without feeling. On the contrary, it is the ability to love, care, and enjoy life fully while keeping your inner independence, refusing to tie your happiness or peace to someone else's behavior, reactions, or presence. It is the state where you can give genuine affection and open yourself to the world, yet not lose yourself when circumstances shift. Without emotional detachment, we easily fall into dependency, where our emotions rise and fall according to how others treat us. A compliment lifts us, a criticism drops us. When a relationship or work outcome doesn't go our way, we feel loss and emptiness. This dependency makes us vulnerable and strips us of control over our own life. Emotional detachment is the way out, allowing you to remain balanced in any situation. The Stoics saw this as one of the highest forms of inner freedom. Epictetus stressed that freedom does not come from satisfying every desire, but from freeing ourselves from the grip of what lies beyond our control. When you detach emotionally, you are no longer trapped in the cycle of expectation and disappointment, for you know that love, approval, and external results may change, but your inner stability and worth remain, if you choose to guard them. Emotional detachment also allows you to love and give more healthily. You still care and stand beside others, but you love without clinging or controlling. You let relationships grow naturally, free from fear of loss or the urge to possess. This not only shields you from emotional shocks, but also allows love to become purer, freer, and more mature. Cultivating detachment requires constant observation and self-awareness. Whenever your emotions swing too quickly or too strongly due to external triggers, ask yourself, am I responding to this situation or am I depending on it? This question draws your attention inward, reminding you that your emotions are yours and you have the right to nurture or adjust them. When you reach this state, you will find that you can love deeply, live passionately, and savor every moment without losing yourself. You will no longer be bound to outcomes or external validation, and thus you will be freer, more peaceful, and more enduring in both love and life. This is one of the most solid foundations for building an unshakable inner life and a fulfilled existence. 9. Train non-reaction as a habit. The ability to remain non-reactive in the face of provocation or pressure is not an inborn trait. It is a skill that must be intentionally cultivated. Most people react instinctively when their emotions are triggered, because the mind is conditioned to respond immediately to defend the ego or satisfy the urge to assert itself. Yet, these impulsive reactions are often the very reason we make mistakes, lose our composure, and create unwanted consequences. To change this, you must make not reacting immediately a natural habit, an integral part of your identity. Training yourself not to react does not mean suppressing your emotions or pretending you are unaffected. It is the practice of creating a short but vital pause between stimulus and response. That pause allows you to observe the situation, identify the emotions arising, and choose the most appropriate response rather than acting on a momentary impulse. Every time you create this pause, you are training your mind to prioritize reason over instinct. Stoic philosophy consistently emphasizes mastering your own reactions. Marcus Aurelius wrote that our strength lies in keeping the mind unmoved by what happens around us. This does not mean becoming numb, but staying aware that emotions are merely signals, while actions are always a choice. When you refuse to be swept away by the surge of immediate emotion, you can choose the path that serves your long-term good rather than your momentary gratification. Begin this practice with small, everyday situations. When something irritates you, try taking a deep breath, silently counting a few beats, or simply staying quiet before speaking. These seemingly minor acts can reset the brain's default response pattern. Over time, you will notice yourself becoming naturally calmer in situations that once would have provoked a sharp reaction. Once ingrained, this habit transforms how you face pressure, conflict, and even direct attacks. You no longer get pulled into pointless arguments. You become less susceptible to others' emotional influence, and you gain the ability to make sound decisions even under stress. At that point, non-reaction is no longer just a self-control technique, it becomes part of who you are, anchoring your steadiness and self-mastery in any circumstance. This is the foundation for true emotional freedom and lasting peace, no matter the situation. 10. Build a strong inner world. A strong inner world is the foundation that keeps you steady amid the turbulence and pressures of the external world. When your mind is nourished and fortified daily, you are no longer easily swept up by sudden emotional waves or unexpected events. But if your inner world is empty, chaotic, or lacking direction, even the smallest outside force can disturb your peace. Building your inner world, therefore, is not optional. It is essential to maintaining emotional stability and clarity. The process begins with cultivating self-awareness. Spend regular time observing what is happening in your mind, which thoughts keep repeating, which emotions are it most often, and which beliefs guide your actions. This awareness is like tending an inner garden, removing weeds of negativity and outdated biases, and planting seeds of positive values. When you clearly know what resides in your mind, you can shape the direction of your inner growth with purpose. The Stoics saw the mind as the most important fortress a person can build. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that happiness depends on the quality of our thoughts, and that we have full authority over what we allow to dwell in our minds. This means carefully choosing what you let influence you, from ideas and opinions to the way you interpret events. A strong inner world is not one that never feels disturbance, but one solid enough not to collapse when trouble comes. Along with managing your thoughts, you must cultivate inner stillness. Time spent in meditation, deep breathing, or journaling helps restore order, release tension, and renew mental energy. This is not an escape from life, but a way to create space for processing and responding wisely. When your inner ground is firm, you no longer feel swept away by sudden changes. Building your inner world is a lifelong process of patience and discipline. Every day you strengthen it with small choices. Choosing silence over meaningless arguments, focusing on what you can control instead of complaining, learning from challenges rather than resenting them. Over time, these choices lay a foundation from which you can live with confidence, tranquility, and true freedom. When your inner world is strong, the storms outside become only passing winds, and you keep walking steadily on your path. 11. Recognize and release others' projections. Projection happens when someone unloads their own thoughts, emotions, or insecurities onto you, turning you into a mirror of what they carry inside. It often occurs unconsciously when they assign to you intentions, feelings, or traits that actually belong to themselves. If you don't recognize it, you may be drawn into defending yourself, doubting yourself, or trying to prove your worth. But once you understand this mechanism, you see that such judgments usually reveal far more about them than about you. Letting go of projections begins with distinguishing between constructive feedback and reactions rooted in someone else's personal psychology. When a comment carries heavy negative emotion unrelated to your actual actions, it is likely a projection. In such cases, rather than absorbing it and letting it define you, observe it and let it pass. You do not need to react to prove yourself, because the truth of who you are does not reside in others' perceptions. Stoic philosophy teaches that we can control only our own actions and thoughts, not others' perspectives or feelings. Epictetus advised that if someone misunderstands you, don't be quick to trouble yourself, for it is their issue, not yours. Keeping distance from projections protects your inner peace and prevents your self-image from being warped by someone else's lens. When you recognize and release projections, you stop wasting energy responding to what was never truly yours to carry. Instead, you focus on living in alignment with your values, maintaining clarity in thought and action. This not only strengthens you against social pressure, but also frees you from the constant burden of proving your worth in others' eyes. That is a profound form of freedom. The freedom from the stories others try to impose on you. 12. Protect your peace as you protect your health. Inner peace does not happen by chance, and once lost, it is often far harder to restore than we expect. Like physical health, mental peace must be nurtured, guarded, and maintained daily. You would not allow harmful habits to destroy your body, so do not allow negative outside forces to invade and erode your mind. This requires mindfulness in choosing your environment, relationships, the information you consume, and the way you respond to the world. Protecting your peace starts with identifying what is disturbing it. This could be draining conversations, constant anxiety-inducing news, or relationships that leave you depleted. Once you recognize them, set clear boundaries to prevent these factors from occupying your mental space. Boundaries are not avoidance, they are conscious acts to protect the mental environment needed for your recovery and growth. Stoic philosophy regards peace as one of life's most precious assets, and like health, it lasts only if you actively safeguard it. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that a calm mind comes from living in harmony with reason and refusing to be pulled into what lies beyond our control. When you see peace as essential to life, you will prioritize the habits and choices that strengthen it over those that trade it for fleeting emotion. Protecting peace also means learning to say no to what does not serve your stability. It's the ability to step away from meaningless arguments, to decline involvement in needless conflict, and to keep your mind clear of toxic thinking. When you stay true to this principle, peace becomes a kind of mental immune system, shielding you from external stress and upheaval. When you protect your peace as you do your health, you not only live longer, but live more deeply. Each day becomes lighter, and you move through life with a steady heart, a clear mind, and an inner world not easily shaken. This is the ground where true happiness and freedom can take root and endure. To me, peace is not an abstract or luxurious concept. It is a life skill that must be trained and prioritized like any other ability. We often spend time learning how to earn money, build relationships, or achieve success, yet rarely do we learn how to protect and strengthen our inner stillness. When you understand that peace is the foundation for every wise decision and every sustainable action, you begin to shape your daily choices in service of it. For me, living in peace is a form of quiet strength. It does not boast, yet it is enough to keep you steady through upheaval, enough to keep you from being pulled by what is unworthy, and enough to let you live a life that truly belongs to you. If you found value in these reflections, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next content. In the end, life is not measured by how many storms we avoid, but by how much peace we keep even when the storm is right before us. See you in the next video.